How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Ultimate Gaming Realm. This is your host and curator, Jason Dixon, logging on. Or should I say, Sherlock Holmes logging on. Alright, anyway, I'm going to be going back to my Sega CD memories with this one. I'm going to be talking about one of the full motion video games that I discovered precisely a year or two before I got the Sega CD out on, which looked pretty interesting to me since I'm big into the series itself. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Volume 1 and Volume 2. Yeah, I've been a big Sherlock Holmes fan for a long time, ever since I was a kid. And as much as I love the Sega CD and the full motion video stuff that's on the system as well. And full motion video games in general. So, let's check it out. Elementary. Let's listen to a brief introduction from the master detective himself.
London is not a beautiful city.
Sabbath true.
Under the soot that covers its buildings is a teeming mass of 4 million souls trying to survive, mostly off of each other. You see it in the paper every day. Thankfully, we have the London Times to keep us informed of all these troubling activities with an unbiased eye and razor-sharp accuracy. We find this publication to be of invaluable assistance in our investigations, and I'm sure you will as well. Among the forces of evil which run rampant in this city, there are also, thankfully, two groups of individuals who will aid us in our cause. As we do, they attempt to right wrongs and restore harmony and civility to the streets of London. The first of these groups is a ragtag association of young ruffians. I call them the Baker Street Irregulars. Don't let them fool you. They may be scruffy and ill-bred, but they are on the right side of the law. They can go everywhere, see everything, and overhear everyone. They are my eyes and ears in the streets of London, unquestionably a tremendous asset in our work. They will help us in our investigations if they can. The other group is a far more civilized collection of gentlemen and institutions. I call them the Baker Street Regulars. They, too, will be extremely useful in our work. At the start of any investigation, do keep in mind that it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Unwittingly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. The people and places to whom I will now introduce you will help us to collect the facts. May we use them wisely. Come, the game's a fortress.
The game is a fortress indeed. The actor who played as Sherlock Holmes in the Consulting Detective series was Peter Farley. And the actor who played as Dr. John Watson was Warren Green. And for a smaller budget project, their acting was solid, in my opinion. I'll give you an example of both their acting with the introduction of the Mummy's Curse.
What rubbish! What balderdash!
You must have read something terribly disturbing, Watson, for you to be so overwrought this early in the morning.
Indeed, Holmes. It's irresponsible of the Times to play upon people's superstitions.
Ah, you must be referring to the affair of the Mummy's Curse.
Has the entire city in an uproar. 3 men dead, and they expect us to believe that the 4,000-year-old mummy was the murderer. I'm surprised you haven't taken some interest in this case, Holmes.
To the contrary, my dear Watson. I have made some inquiries, because I dare say I do believe this murderer is a much younger chap.
Sure, they're no Jeremy Brett or Edward Hardwick or Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, but both Farley and Green did their parts as Holmes and Watson really good. Now, both volumes actually started out on home computers, of course. And there's even a third one on home computer. Unfortunately, the third volume didn't get a console release, so it's only 2 volumes we're going to be focusing on for this episode.
So you've been
I'll get
reading my
into
articles in
the
Times.
complete trilogy of
I
the
found it.
Consulting
What do you
Detectives
think? That's
eventually,
quite interesting.
but right
You've
now
clearly
I just
been
want to
following
look
the
back
murders
on the
quite
memories
closely.
of the first 2
Who do you
volumes
suspect?
on the Sega
I believe it
CD.
is the work of the ancient Egyptian gods
Especially
who
when I
attacked
discovered
his goddess,
a
me.
poster of advertisement for
I
Sega
couldn't
CD
think
games
there'd
and
be a
full
modified
motion video
animal of some
games,
sort, a
such
monkey
as
perhaps.
Sherlock Holmes Consulting
Precisely.
Detective Volume 2. That's how I
Very
discovered
long.
the series.
Long enough to know if he had any enemies.
And these Consulting Detective
And
series
unassuming.
have 3
Everyone
cases
liked
each
him.
Including Mr.
for each
Rooney.
volume.
The mummy's
Supposedly
biggest
on the
victim,
PC,
of
on
course.
all 3 volumes,
Now,
it will be
who
9
hired
altogether,
all
but
this
unfortunately the consoles like Sega
Huh?
CD, it's 6.
That's a jolly good one. Actually, we don't have a client on this one. Just for fun, eh? Well, about the only thing I...
Difficult thing for a man to say about his only son. That guy was a wastrel and a ne'er-do-well. Only a short month or so ago, I gave him £5,000 and told him that was the last he'd see of my money. I'd hoped the shock would bring the boy around, make him realize he had to settle down, instead of wasting his life on gambling and gallivanting around with that wild woman.
Which wild woman was that?
Loretta Nolan, of course.
You mentioned gambling, Sir Francis. Have you any idea with whom he gambled or who might have wanted to kill him?
I wish I did. He told us nothing. He only came around when he needed money. And when I told him there'd be no more, we never saw him. Just about broke his mother's heart. There, Gertie. We still have one another.
I've something you ought to know about Master Guy. One morning, rather early, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I heard a terrible clatter downstairs, so I came down to investigate. It was Master Guy just coming home. He was in a terrible state, all battered and bruised, with a fresh cut on his forehead. I asked him who did it to him, and he wouldn't say. I think he was afraid for his life.
So how do you go about this game as for Sherlock Holmes and full motion video? Of course, it's full motion video, and it's involving Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. And usually, when you start a case, you'll get a video intro about the case from your client, or from a note from your client or something. Then, as a player, you must investigate the location of the person from the directory to visit. It's also best to read London newspapers for clues on a certain case that you're on, or ask any of the young Baker Street irregulars to investigate. Or if you need any extra help here and there, you can always look in your notebook for informants, like from Scotland Yard, Inspector Lestrade, or from the London Library, or from Quentin Hogg. You know what I mean. And also another idea is best to have a pen and paper with you by your side, or these days a tablet with a stylus to write down the clues and the addresses like a regular detective. And when you do watch a video clip, it's best that you pay attention so you can hear details better. Or if you have trouble understanding, you can also replay the clip again. And if you think you got the case all wrapped up with evidence and witnesses and etc., then it's time to bring it to court. Make sure you give them the right answer, or the judge will have you start over. Well, not completely over, but go back to what you miss. Some of you may or may not remember or know that a few months ago I recreated a video, or tried to recreate it to my best of my ability for the time when I was in the courtroom trying to present the evidence when I got the wrong answer. And I was trying to recreate my reaction when I thought I had the right answer. I was like going, blah, blah, blah to the judge. Revisiting the old clip now.
And what makes you so certain
What was Travis's
Nope,
motive
Travis.
for killing Turnbull?
Mm-hmm. I guess I'll choose B. No. Yeah, I'm just messing around here. D.
Positively incorrect. I'm afraid you haven't done
Positively
a good enough job
incorrect.
putting your brains to the task. Back to
Blah,
the
blah,
beginning,
blah,
I'm
shut
afraid.
up.
My face is red, my lord. My humble apologies for coming before the court so unprepared.
Yeah,
Apology
my
accepted.
face is getting red.
Now off with you. You still have a case to solve.
Ah, shut up. Knock that wig off you. Here, I'm gonna go for another chance here. Just wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Blah, 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 shut up. Let's get a move on. You wanker. Come on. Looking back, I always thought those memories are funny. Mainly when I got the wrong answers constantly. I always thought it was amusing being a jerk in front of a still image of an English judge, just looking like this. Blah, blah, blah. Shut your face, asshole.
Positively incorrect. I'm afraid you haven't done a good enough job of putting your brains to the task. Back to the beginning, I'm afraid.
Blah, blah, blah. Shut your face, wanker. Probably don't want to do that in real life. I want the judge to hold me in contempt. All joking aside, my good mates, the consulting detective games are really good, in my opinion. Though you just have to watch full motion video clips and pay attention, look at newspaper articles for clues, as well as have your irregulars check on certain individuals, as well as going to the right person of interest in that directory, or go to your notes to visit your informants. And then when you're ready with all the clues and all witnesses and the evidence, bring it to court. And altogether, I actually thought watching the clips were pretty good. I actually enjoy watching the full motion video clips of each games as well too. And they're as fun as watching the Sherlock Holmes series with Jeremy Brett or Basil Rathbone, except this time you're actually watching the movie and playing the game at the same time. Now, the first Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Volume 1 on Sega CD, I believe was one of the packed-in game options on the Sega CD, and I remember it was an option bundle with Sega Genesis Classics on the Sega CD that were bundled together. Well, however, the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Volume 1 had a smaller screen when it comes to watching video clips. Of course, the graphics were pretty dated for today's standards, because you know how the limitations Sega CD has. But however, when they released Volume 2, the Sega CD version of Volume 2, that version got more improved with a bigger screen. And when you're watching a video clip, it looks like you're actually watching it on a TV monitor. I mean, the way they actually have the rewind and pause and all that. And the game was actually on, and the Volume 2 was actually on 2 CD-ROM discs instead of 1. Probably because they put a lot more into it.
In comes Derek Quinn, and he struts right over to this red-headed bloke.
Who might Derek Quinn be?
Don't know, sir. But I've never liked the looks of him, I haven't.
What about Thomas O'Neill? Do you know?
And also, the judge in the Volume 2 on Sega CD is full motion video instead of a still image. Now, the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective series were done by ICOM Simulations.
Stephen Lyons has
The same people who brought another full-motion video game on the Sega CD, which started out on PC, Dracula Unleashed, and that's another good one. And they also were behind Breeding Mac Ventures, which is a series that actually started out these games on the Mac before releasing them on home computers and before releasing them on consoles. Shadowgate, Uninvited, and Deja Vu. And they're also behind developing the Beavis and Butthead PC games, like Virtual Stupidity and Afterwards, before the company went defunct in 1998. Well, mainly the employees or founders of Icon Simulations founded a new company in 2012 called Zojoy. I think that's how you pronounce it. Which did remakes of Shadowgate as well as a VR version of Shadowgate and Beyond Shadowgate. And they even released a few remastered consulting detective cases on Steam. Cases individually, not in volumes this time. All three of the cases from the first volume, and they have one case from the third volume. But why not all the cases from Volume 2 and the rest of the cases from the third volume? I don't know what's going on. Well, hopefully they'll remaster them in full glory, because I like to get into talking about the Consulting Detective series in full detail. Probably might have to do that from the DOS, since they have all three of them.
And then he just dropped over, dead as a doornail.
That's precisely the story Miss Carpenter told us.
Well, then that proves that it's the truth. Looks like the copper's got the wrong girl. But that ain't unusual, is it?
I understand the man was robbed.
Well, the man was dead. What use did he of a few quid?
Dead or not, it's still stealing, my good woman.
Anyway, that's all I got to say about the Consulting Detective series on the Sega CD. Probably recommend it if you're playing the DOS versions, which they have all three volumes anyway, or if they get around to doing a complete remaster of all the versions on Steam, those would probably be more recommended. But there are some cases individually remastered on Steam. Probably should take a look at them. They're about $4 a piece. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching and listening. An elementary to you, my dear friends. This is your consulting detective, Sherlock Holmes, Dixon of the Ultimate Game Room, logging off. Elementary.